Today we are going to see one of the most important topic, or this is the easiest topic in LWC, that is called as conditional rendering. And if you have some prior experience with coding, irrespective of the technologies, you should have come across this conditional rendering, but the syntax might have been different, but the functionality, what it achieves at the end, it's going to be almost similar. So conditional rendering, when speaking about the Lightning Web Components, it refers to the ability to kind of conditionally display or hide elements based on some certain conditions or criteria. So the conditional rendering in Lightning Web Components, it normally helps in creating some dynamic and responsive user interfaces. For example, just consider if you are trying to create a form, and based on the data that you are entering, something needs to be rendered on the screen. Suppose if the data is not true, if the data is false, so then in that scenario, something else needs to be displayed on the screen. So criteria like this. So to achieve these kind of conditions, then we'll be using something called as conditional rendering in Lightning Web Components. And to put it in more simpler words, just consider a real-time example, like just consider if the weather is sunny outside. For example, you have a magic box. So what does that magic box do is that uh, if the weather is sunny, the magic box shows a picture of a happy sun. So it's just like when it's sunny outside, the magic box automatically shows a picture of a smiling sun. It knows to do this because it checks the weather, and if it's sunny, it shows the sun picture. And in the same case, if it's raining outside, the magic box changes to the picture of an picture to an umbrella. It does this because it knows it needs to show something related to the rain when it's raining outside. So similarly, if it's nighttime and the magic box displays a picture of a sleepy moon or stars, something like that. So, and it's like the magic box knows it's time to show a picture of the moon. In this way, you can relate conditional rendering to something familiar like a magic box. So it changes based upon some conditions or criteria. So we'll try to do this with an example right now. So I'll just get into my studio. So first things first, so I'll be creating one Lightning Web component. So I will name it as display information. And I'm trying to expose this to a record page, app page, and home page. So I think I don't need a CSS file for now. I'll try to deploy, and it will create your display information HTML file. Now you have your HTML file, JS file, and you also have your meta file where the targets are getting displayed already. So yeah. Now first let's get into the template file. The first things first, we'll try putting a template tag. So this is the syntax actually, template if true. So if this is true, let's put something like display needs to be displayed. Closing this. Let's have a lightning card. Some title like employee information. So inside this, we can have a div class. So yes. So now we'll be having some lightning input. Just consider you are trying to create a form element maybe. So how do we create a form? We use the lightning input tags to create a form now. We don't need all these things. So lightning input label is going to be first name. Value is going to be name. On change is going to be, and this will call this first change handler function. First name handler. So we'll try to close this lightning input. So we have created this first name now. So similarly, we will try to create for last name. Last name handler. So maybe we can try creating for maybe for age, first name, last name, and age. They should be fine. And for this, we'll be having age handler. And we'll try to close this div. And we also need to close this lightning card. And the next thing that we need to do is that if the template is true and if it's the false, this data needs to be displayed. Okay. So template, and this is the syntax that we need to use. So template if false. It's just like if this display is false, then this needs to be displayed. Then use lightning card. Employee information. Medium. We need to display our first name, last name, and then we need to close this. And we'll just try giving age. So the next thing is that we'll try closing this div. And after that, we need to close this lightning card. And then after this, we need to close the template. And we have another template as well. So you have tried closing all these things. Now, the next thing that we need to do is that we need to try deploying this. Okay. And next we need to work on this JS file, lightning element, display information. So you need first name, last name, and age. So the next thing that we need to do is that we need to define our change handlers. We have given first name handler over here. So this will get an event. So this is how the event change handlers work. So whatever you type in over there, you get those values inside this event. So inside this, now we can fetch using this dot first name equal to event dot target dot value. So whatever the values you enter inside the form, so you can capture that and push it to the first name. Okay, so the next thing is that We also created last name change handler. Is that last name handler? So even this last name handler will be having event. And so similarly, we'll be typing in this dot last name equal to event dot target dot value. So we have one more thing called as age handler. So similarly, this will be getting an event. And similarly, we'll be just typing in this dot age equal to event dot target dot value. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a save button now. So we can have just display over here and we can set it to true. And now we'll be creating save button handler. So inside this, we'll be setting this dot display equal to false over here. So I'll try to deploy this now. And now the next thing that we need to be doing is that we have tried creating this lightning input, but we have missed to give the lightning button over here. Okay. So we'll try creating this lightning button now. So lightning button label equal to something we can give as maybe submit. So what happens when you click on that button? Save button handler. And the next thing is we need to close this. So now we have created both the HTML file and JS file, and we also created the meta file. So now we'll try to deploy everything again. So everything got deployed now. So now we'll go inside our LWC component. Inside sales. So just observe carefully. So this is how, after creating our LWC component, if we need to embed that particular component inside our Salesforce org, we need to do this way. Like you need to go to the object that you need to emulate. For example, if I need to create that particular thing in my opportunities record page, so I'll be going to my edit page over here. So once you go into the edit page, so on the left hand side, you'll be having some standard components and custom components. So if you close this, you should be seeing your custom component. So what is my component now? Is the display information. Yeah, this is the information component, right? So now you could see that this particular display information component is now got deployed into our Salesforce org. So the next thing that you'll be doing is that you'll be just trying to drag and drop to the screen now. So now you got the screen. Let us try saving this. And we'll just try to activate this. And just try to save this. And if I try to go back and go into my opportunities tab again, so you should be seeing this first name, last name, and age. So we can just give some random names like Virat Kohli, thing like, okay, this might be a caching issue at times. So there might be some caching issues. So what we can do is that we can just include that particular component in the contacts file. Okay. So in the contacts object, so similarly, we just try doing the things again. So just deploying the code again. So let us see if our code is working fine. So by just putting our display information over here, we got the screen now. Let's try saving this. If we go back to our contacts now, inside the record detail page, you're able to see your first name, last name, and age, right? So let's try it now. 9, 34. If we try to submit now, you could see the details now reflecting, right? So the details are coming as first name, last name, and age. So it is just similar to the code that we are seeing here. So what we are doing is that initially the display is going to be true. So whenever display, when the display is showing as true, so at the time what we are seeing is that we are seeing this first name, last name, and age input fields. So once we enter the value, and if you once you click on the submit, this save button handler is getting triggered. So what we are doing in the save button handler is that we are just changing this particular display from true to false. So what we are doing using that conditional rendering, if false, if display equal to false, then we are trying to render this. What we are trying to render is that we are trying to render the first name, last name, and age of the values that we got from our this on change handlers. So this is the easiest and one important use case of the conditional rendering. So this is how you use the conditional rendering in your day-to-day Lightning Web Components life. So these are the important things. There's template if true and if false. So based on